Hey all you super players out there, Ben Lotus aka 5 Buck Lunch, and today we're going through some of the rulings that people have been asking a lot about in set 10. Now some of you, if you play this game a lot, you might already know them, maybe you don't know one of them, something like that, but this is all important things to know if you're going to be playing with people, especially if you're playing with them online. So a lot of times you don't have a judge where you can just ask right away, or if you're going to tournaments, it's a nice thing to just know in case you have to play against the card. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is Mecheuropa plotting revival, and people have been asking whether you can use his -4 skill to take indestructible cards, mostly the 5-drop Zamasu from the draft box, and the answer is no. So in Dragon Ball Super, taking something is considered removing it from your opponent's battle area and moving it to your battle area. So not only can you not take indestructibles because they can't be removed by your opponent's card skills, but it also triggers things like the Brolys that when they are removed from the field, you can put in the next Broly, the Broly chain, things like that. And you also get put in play effects on your side of the field, which is, assuming it's not from hand, of course. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about, was that no, you cannot take indestructible cards with Mecheuropa. Next up, Son Goku Absolute Annihilation. As long as this card is on the field and your leader is yellow, your opponent can't activate extra cards until they switch one of their energy to rest mode. And the question was, does this work on invoker cards or things that modify the cost of cards? Like, say, for example, if you are playing one of the new cards, the new counterattacks that are free if you have a Unison in play, do I still have to tap an energy for those? And the answer is yes. And the reason for that is this card doesn't actually affect the cost of the card. Its effect isn't your opponent's extra cards cost one more. It's that in order to activate an extra card, your opponent must switch an energy to rest mode. So it's like an additional cost, not increasing the cost of the actual card. So yes, invokers will essentially cost 2. Any free life taking extra cards or anything like that will still cost 1. Next up, we have Janta Merciless Barrage, and this is more of just a weird way that this card works than a ruling, but since his counterplay ability is choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards that get minus 15k for the turn, if you play it on window 1 or on a battle card that's coming into play regularly, you actually can't minus the battle card that's currently coming into play. You have to minus battle cards that are already on the field, and that's something not a lot of people realize because it doesn't really make sense with how the card is. Like, you should be able to minus the card coming in terms of like balance sake, and that's kind of why this one kind of sucks. But yeah, so you can't actually minus the thing coming into play because it's not on the field yet. And his minus is actually minus 15 to 2 and then play this card. Bardock the Resolute. A lot of people were confused because it says if your leader card is red, when your opponent's life is added to their hand or placed in the drop area by a skill, you may play this card from your hand. So single strike is considered a skill. So if you just attack them and they take a damage, you can put this card into play. A lot of people were saying that shouldn't be a skill, like double strike is a skill, critical is a skill. However, just attacking them and dealing a damage is also considered by a skill, and basically anything that's not a game mechanic is a skill, and it's considered a skill. So yes, if you attack with a single strike battle card and your opponent takes a damage, you can put Bardock the Resolute into play. The last one is just kind of a warning more than anything else. It's not really a ruling thing, but I wanted to quick talk about Mecheuropa the Broken Seal. So when you declare an original energy cost and a character name, and then until the end of the next turn, your opponent can't play a card with both those attributes. Make sure you're calling BRs, childhoods, things like that, because Goku, Son Goku, and Son Goku Childhood are different. Like, that's not the same thing. Another big thing to remember is you have to declare a actual card name. So if you declare Goku, technically your opponent has to say, hey, there is not a card that just has the descriptor Goku. You have to say Son Goku or Son Goku Childhood. Another thing too is if you can describe enough of the cards, so say like, for example, you wanted to call the 9-drop Mecheuropa card, the one that comes in play. But you can't remember like exactly what the cost on the card is. You're allowed to call a judge and say, hey, what's the Mecheuropa? It's like an 8 or 9 drop. It comes in play. It negates my battle cards when I play them. It has EX Evolve over the 4-drop. If you say that much, the judge is allowed to tell you what that card is. So what that means for if you're playing in casual games, if you can describe that much of the card, you can pretty much call that card with Mecheuropa, even though you might technically not 100% know that it is just a Mecheuropa card name, for example, or not specifically know the cost of the card. And the reason for that is cards are considered public knowledge in terms of like what they do. So yeah, so long story short, if you're in an official tournament and you have a judge and you don't know the specifics on a card, if you can describe it enough to where it is not like there's no shadow of a doubt that you know what card you're talking about, they'll allow you to tell you what is printed on that card, including the cost and the character trait for Mecheuropa. So yeah, was there anything else you guys had questions about set 10 that I can answer for you? Is there any big rulings that I missed? Please let me know in that case. Otherwise, please go out there, play some Super, and have some fun.